There's an American hero. A lot of you know him by the name of Sean Strickland, who kind of had a wild Super Bowl weekend, and I didn't think much of it until he actually got into talks with Jake Paul. There was an offer on the table, and then he went to Hunter, who's kind of Dana White's right hand man at the UFC, who kind of makes these deals happen. And he's like, just let me fight Jake Paul. I'm an American hero. I'm quickly becoming one of the biggest stars in the UFC ever since he beat Israel Adesanya. Just let me go out there and beat Jake Paul. And I just keep thinking of the 2014 Godzilla where it's just saying, let them fight. Like, please, we all want to see it. And then
Hmm.
Jake Paul has made his money off of beating retired UFC fighters who aren't boxers. I mean, Ben Askren, a wrestler who held the record for getting knocked out the fastest when Jorge Masvidal kneed him in the face in a split second to start that fight. Or we have Anderson Silva, who was like 50 when he fought him. It was like when Mike Tyson fought, I think it was Roy. I forget what his name was, but they had a fight recently where they're both in their 60s. And then he just fought Nate Diaz, and Nate Diaz put up a little bit of a fight and didn't get knocked out by Jake Paul. So it's like, can we just let Sean Strickland end this nonsense? If anyone can, it's Sean, and Sean Strickland likes boxing, and he's like a UFC fighter, but his whole thing is it's just Philly shell, old school boxer. He stands in front of you and he predominantly spars with boxers and he trains wrestling and he's a good all around UFC fighter, but his main thing is hands. You give an opportunity to someone in their prime to fight Jake Paul, and it's like, okay, let's see if Jake Paul can actually box.
Yeah, and I think that Jake Paul can box, but we're talking about Sean Strickland here, who's the face of UFC at this point, who's become American darling the last year or so. So I look at it as if I'm Dana White, and I look at the dollar signs because ultimately it is a business. And Sean Strickland and Jake Paul passes the name test, passes the pay-per-views. I see that generating anywhere between 4 and 5 million pay-per-views from it. So we're talking about how big of a ticket item is it going to be? I think it's going to be massive. And also, you're going to have America on your side because half of America loves Jake Paul. The other half of them wants to see his ass get kicked and are Sean Strickland fans and want to see him put a crater in his face.
Yeah.
So you get the best of both worlds. You get the people who are going to watch it because they want to watch Jake Paul get his ass kicked. And on the other end, you're going to watch it because you're a kickboxing/boxing fan and you just want to watch a good fight. And I think it's going to be a good fight. So I'm all for it just based on the business aspect of things. And also because I'm kind of on the Sean Strickland side where it would be fun to see Jake Paul get his ass beat as well.
Yeah, definitely. And it's like, you can't let him keep getting away with it. He's beating up all your old retired UFC fighters. We don't want to see that anymore. Give him someone who's in their prime, like a Israel Adesanya or a Sean Strickland. And it's like, for the reputation of the UFC, for the reputation of America itself, let Sean Strickland reset the timeline, please. Because if he goes out there, stops the whole influencer boxing, he goes out there, beats up Sneeko. Everyone has a problem with that, but Sneeko wanted to spar him. And if you spar Sean Strickland, he is notorious for not holding back in sparring. So it's like, you need to know who you're in the ring with. And Sean Strickland was fine doing it for free, but the UFC is getting in the way because they're like, well, Jake Paul's audience doesn't buy tickets and they don't buy pay-per-views. And then basically they're saying that Jake Paul's events really don't generate as much money as he said on the front end. I can't confirm it, but that's just what Dana White and his right-hand businessman says, but it shouldn't be for business. It should be for the integrity of the UFC and your fighters and just the integrity of America as a whole. Let Sean Strickland end influencer boxing or take it to a whole new level here. And I think everyone would want to see it. It would be the most entertaining press. Just think of the publicity and the money this would generate with Sean Strickland, who's like, I would like to murder someone if it was legal. Then he's asking Joe Rogan. He's like, Joe, how would you feel if you could kill someone? And Joe's like, no, I don't want to talk about this. And he's like, what are you, like, religious or something? Like, what do you think? Like, who would you kill? It's like, that's the type of guy who's like, he doesn't even want to fight for money. He would be talking the craziest shit, and then Jake Paul would kind of also be talking the craziest shit, and they're both really good at promoting fights. So it's the best of both worlds. The dollars shouldn't matter. It should be the reputation of the UFC, boxing, and America as a whole on the line here, and Sean Strickland has the potential to reset the timeline. And I think everyone would love to see this event, and the dollar sign shouldn't matter. Because
Yeah.
Conor and Floyd, they're like, well, look at all the money that it'll generate. Okay, cool. But Sean Strickland knocking out Jake Paul, this shouldn't be about money. This should be about
Justice.
integrity, justice for all on this President's Day that we're recording it.
Yeah, 100%. And then also on the other end, God forbid Jake Paul wins, he legitimizes himself as a boxer. We talked about, he mentioned he wanted to be in the Boxing Hall of Fame. If he could beat Sean Strickland, he has a better case because now he can say, well, I did beat Sean Strickland in his prime, and he influenced the, the streamer influence of boxing. So
Yeah.
I think that it's a win-win for both of them, and it's good for America. And I heard that the American democracy is actually dependent on the win of Sean Strickland.
Yeah.
And if he does lose, then down goes America, down goes the US dollar, and in comes China.
Yeah, it's officially over. China would take over. And then I don't know, if we can't get justice for OJ Simpson, let's get justice with Sean Strickland fighting Jake Paul. And the criticism with Jake Paul is like, oh, he pays people to take a dive, especially in the Andre August fight, like, which is highly illegal, first of all. But also, Sean Strickland, we know, would not take the money to take a dive there. He's willing to do this fight for free, off camera, in the desert, in the middle of nowhere, with just him and Jake Paul. He's just interested in hurting people, and that's what he likes to do, and that's why he gets paid to do it. So
it's in a great industry.
Yeah, he's in a great industry for that. So it's like, we know Sean Strickland won't take a dive. So for integrity, if Jake Paul like wants to do it for his fights, it's like, okay, just let these two guys go after it. And Sean Strickland may not even get punched in this fight either.
Dana White, do what the people want. Think about justice. Justice for all. American freedom. Sean Strickland, Jake Paul. It's that easy.
It's that easy. You already got justice for the Nelk Boys by ripping Bob Menery a new asshole. Let Sean Strickland do the same for us with Jake Paul.
Yes.
It's simple.
Exactly.
And most importantly,
stay brick.